welcome to the YarnderWoman podcast. My name is Melinda and you can find me as YarnderWoman on Instagram and Ravelry. We've also got a Ravelry group. If you just search for YarnderWoman podcast, come and join us there. Today is Friday the 17th of June 2016 and this is episode 47. Thank you so much for joining me. It's about 5:30 a.m. where I am at the moment. I'm getting this filming done before I head off to work today. TGIF for a happy Friday for everyone, or whatever day it is for you. Thank you for joining me today. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we saw each other. My last episode was with YarnderMum. I was so happy that so many of you enjoyed seeing her. She had a great time. Thank you to everyone who sent her birthday wishes both on Ravelry and Instagram. She always gets so excited and a bit blown away when I post photos of her and say, oh, I've got to put a photo up for your fans, Mum. And then we'll check later and I'll say, oh, you've got, over 100 likes, lots of comments. And she just goes, that's amazing, unbelievable. So thank you very much. She really appreciates that and I love it too. So she had a lovely day. We had the birthday day when we filmed. The next day we went out for another lunch, and then a couple of days later we had a family lunch as well and went down to the park, and she really enjoyed that, playing with my niece and nephew, her grandkids. So that was very exciting. It was also Damien's birthday, my partner, during the time we've been away, and as in away from each other here. He had a great time, and the socks that I made him that I showed in the last episode fit really, really well. So thank you to everyone who asked about that. And he's trained well, because when he opened them he said, oh, they're lovely. And he goes, and what colourway are they? So I told him, but the colours I actually chose, which was the light grey, the dark grey and the red, are actually the colours of the paint on the front of our house. We have sort of a light grey section, two dark greys and then a red in the middle sort of thing. So I said they're the house colourway, which was part of my reasoning behind choosing those colours, as well as being the colours that I had. It worked out nicely. So thank you to everyone for your well wishes. In a couple of weeks it is Sophie the teen's birthday, and I've got a new project for her that I will show you, as well as the socks that I finished last week. So that's very exciting. So before we move on to the knitting, let's go and broach the subject. Sleeping sheep. So this little cutie is from Erstwilder, which is an Australian company over in Melbourne, Victoria, which is over on the eastern side of Australia. I've got quite a few of their brooches because they're quite up my alley, but how could I go past this one? A sheep for knitting, and it's red with black polka dots. It's just too perfect. And yes, she's asleep. I'd kind of like to be doing that right now too, but she can channel my energy, or lack thereof. And Erstwilder has lots of different themes. You may remember on an episode several months ago, I got some from their dinosaur range at the time. They're currently running votes on a Broach My Pet contest. So people have sent in photos of their pets, and there's, I think, top 20 finalists. So I'll put the links in if you're interested in having a look at that. I think they have a space collection coming up soon, which will be very fun. I like space things. Damien loves space things. Damien, my partner, if you haven't been with me before. So I'll be very keen to get those, but I have a lot of brooches, but that doesn't mean I don't want more, but then I feel bad about wanting more. But if it's cute, anyway. Something else I'll quickly show you. I often get questions on my lipstick. Thank you very much to everyone who is interested, especially Amelia, because I know she's a makeup artist. So the one I'm wearing today, it's Lime Crime. Sort of a bit reflecty, this container. I've mentioned Lime Crime before. I'm not in any way sponsored by them or paid any money to say anything. I just really like their products. This particular colour is called Lady, and it's part of their Pearlies range, which is their metallics. This is like a light red. So Lime Crime are completely ethical in terms of not testing on animals. A lot of their products are vegan. Some of them have beeswax, so that's why they're not all 100% vegan, but for the most part. And yeah, beautiful packaging, awesome colours. And speaking of colours, you may notice my hair. So when I had the week off a couple of weeks ago, I decided I'm just going to dye my hair purple. It was a different colour from the previous purple, which you may remember from another episode. And I thought, I'll just see what happens. And I went back to work. I got lots of compliments from my colleagues and no negative comments from anyone who could tell me that I couldn't have the hair colour. So, score! It's very exciting. It's sort of more of a violety purple than the last one. The last one I did was more of a blue purple, but I didn't have any of that one left. So, yes, very excited by that. So straight into works in progress. There's no finished objects, but I do have a half object. So I have one finished sock. Isn't it pretty? So this yarn, or the main multicoloured yarn, is the Cyborg's Craft Room, and it's in the Space Oddity colourway. And the contrasting colour is Knit Pick Stroll in Midnight Heather, but I haven't got that ball band with me at the moment, but I am so happy with how these turned out. Just gorgeous. Cyborg's Craft Room, as I mentioned last time, she just has so many colours in the yarn. You know, some of the colours only go for a couple of stitches, or it's just beautiful, beautiful yarn. And these socks are so different from anything I've really knit before. I was trying to work out how many pairs of socks I have knit total, and I forgot to check, but I don't know, maybe 15, 20... 20 seems a bit much. I'm talking total, not this year. I'll have to tally that up and see. But a lot of them are self-striping, which is very fun. So I don't think I've really knit one so vibrant like this and in these kinds of colours. So that's pretty exciting. Actually, if you watch the latest episode of Fairy Little Twitch and Stitch podcast with Marsha, I think it's episode 34, she's knitting some Cyborg's Craft Room yarn that I sent her, and I mentioned that not because I sent it to her, because I want to show you the way that the Cyborg's Craft Room yarn looks, just the way it doesn't pool, the colours are all over. So that's that one, and I'm nearly finished sock number 2, so they've been going quite well. So you can see I'm nearly down in the foot. So the pattern on the leg is the blueberry waffle sock pattern. It's nice and stretchy. And then I've just decided to do vanilla for the sock because it just seems easier, and it's going to be in my foot. My foot is going to be in the sock is going to be in the shoe. So, because purling quite hurts my arthritis, just because of the different angles, so the less purling I have to do, the better. So I figure for the foot, and I also stopped the pattern about, I think it was about 3 or so centimetres, just over an inch, before starting the heel, which is a recommendation of the Fish Lips Kiss heel pattern. So those are going well. They are living in the bag that my friend Julia, 9crafty11, sent me. So Alice in Wonderland, and the keys, and the great writing on the front. Now I have to clarify, in my last episode, when I was showing this bag, I said I thought Julia was starting an Etsy shop. She's clarified with me after someone contacted her, she's not starting an Etsy shop, so my apologies again, Julia, and I'm sorry if I got anyone's hopes up. However, she did say she would be happy for people to contact her for custom orders, so if you're interested in that, I would definitely recommend it because her work is amazing. So that's 9crafty11 on Ravelry. So I'll link to Julia in the show notes. So not starting a shop, but you may still be able to get your own Julia bag. Now a bag in a shop you can get is possibly one like this or a different one. This is from Give Me a Crown, who is Nina over in Sydney. And, oh, to clarify, Julia lives in Brisbane, which is the northeastern area of Australia. Nina is in, well, actually she's not in Sydney now, she's in New South Wales, the state. So this is Give Me a Crown. This may look familiar as well because, well, one of you has one of these because Nina gave us one as a prize several episodes ago. This has got the lovely gingham inside. Oh, there's her tag. Give Me a Crown. So, what's living in these? One of these, another 1.5 object. What is this, you may ask? This is going to be like a boot topper or ankle warmer. Or I guess it could be a wrist warmer. That works kind of too. So this is the additional knitted present I'm giving Sophie the teen, because she recently got a pair of leg warmers from a shop that were thick, black, cabley, quite baggy, and she was wearing them, she wears them either with her Doc Marten boots so you can see them, or she sometimes wears them under her school uniform trousers just to keep her legs extra warm because it's been getting pretty chilly around here. And she was saying, I'd love some leg warmers, Mel. So now the thing is, I cast on, the ribbing was going along and went, yeah, those are not loose. Like the ones she has are like mega loose. But then I thought, well, these can be different. So the yarn I'm using for these, it's the Knit Picks Swish Worsted in Hollyberry. This is the red colour that I used on the toes of the socks for Damien, you may remember. So nice colour, Sophie's a fan of red as well. And I didn't follow a pattern, all I did, I can't even remember how many stitches I cast on now, I want to say maybe 68. And I'm using 3.75mm needles, I believe. So I do 2 at a time circulars for my sock knitting or boot top knitting. So I just did some 2x2 ribbing, some plain stockinette, another, I think about 5 rows of ribbing, stockinette, more ribbing. So I haven't cast on the second one yet, but very quick project being the worsted weight. And I think she's going to like them. And yes, looking at that, how versatile am I? Oh, look at that. She can wear them on her ankles or her wrists, you know. 2 for the price of 1. And I'll show you my notions pouch as well. Isn't it cute? And this one is actually from another Australian bag designer. This one is from Girl So Sheepy, who is the lovely Tammy over in Sydney. And she sent me this as a gift. And I just think the fabric is so cute. And so mention Nina's shop. Not sure what is in Nina's shop at the moment, but I know Tammy has just put a whole lot of bags up and she's got some gorgeous fabrics. There's some with magpies in like little cameos, they're lovely. And there's one that's very, very Tammy because she likes pinks and beautiful things, and it's got pretty pink sheep in the middle and then 2 panels of pinky purpley fabric. So I would recommend you checking out both their shops or contacting Julia. So yes, that's my notions pouch. And speaking of beautiful bags, but you can't buy this one. So this was my special, special, special bag from my dear, dear friend Isabel, Fluffy Fibers, who will soon be having her little boy. All the very best to you, Isabel, and your family. So living in here is another sock that I've started. I'm on very much a sock kick. This is my last project to show you because I haven't been working on my surf shawl, which was my Mother's Day cast on. Not because there's anything wrong with it, I've just been really into socks. Not sure why. Well, I can guess why. It's been cold and I've been wanting to wear a lot of woolen socks and I'm running out because, you know, you have to wash them. Annoying. Anyway, this yarn, oh dear, is falling apart all over the place. So my colours, isn't it? It makes me so happy. This is Query Fibre yarn in the Ladybug colourway. Now, you've seen this yarn before if you've watched previously. This is a neck warmer that I made myself maybe last winter, and that's in the Ladybug yarn. So it's called Ladybug because I guess depending on the gauge and the stitch count, the black is supposed to line up into kind of spots. But obviously my gauge and stitch count isn't quite right for spots, but I still like the effect it gives. This is sort of a bit like leopard print. I like doing air quotes, don't I? So I like how that's going. And on this one, you can see on this texture side, which I'll tell you more about in a minute, it's sort of doing little diamonds happening here. And then on the back where there's no pattern, I've actually gone down stitch counts at various points. So the gauge, or sorry, the width has changed. So the way the patterning, you can see up here, it started out quite thin and then it's getting more into the blobs there. So that's very fun. So the pattern on the front, this is by Mina Phillip, who is Mina of the Knitting Expat podcast. As I'm sure you'll know, she has recently released the Beyond Vanilla sock pattern set. So it's a group of 4 patterns, and they're all by Beyond Vanilla. They're quite simple patterns where you just want a little bit more interest than a plain vanilla sock, which is exactly what I felt like. So this one is the cobblestone pattern, and when I first saw Nina's pattern release, because she did a special episode of her podcast where she launched them, the cobblestone was the one that I was drawn to the most, which is why I chose to start with that. Now it's a little bit difficult to see in the patterned yarn, but that's okay. It's just more to give it a bit of a texture. It's not meant to necessarily be defined as such, but really enjoying these. As I said, I knit on 2 circulars. These are 2.25 millimeter. And now with that, as you may have noticed on the label, it's 100% superwash merino. So I'm not going to be using these for the full sock. I'm going to be knitting the leg, and that's why I've been going down in stitch count, because I want them to be quite high. So not knee high, but sort of mid-calf length. I guess it depends how high they pull up so put them on. But yeah, I want them to be quite high because I want to use lots of this beautiful yarn. And as I mentioned in the last or the previous before that episode, I don't want to be having the gap between my pant leg and my sock when I sit down. So I want them to be quite high, and then I'm going to change to a yarn that does have nylon. Now, of course, you can knit socks without nylon, and you know, back in the day before modern yarns, people did that all the time. That's what there was. But I know for me and how I guess my foot shape is in terms of the bottom of my foot and where the pressure points are, I would rather have some nylon in the foot of the sock. So I haven't decided on that, whether it be plain black. I don't really want to knit a plain black sock, so I'll see, but they are going quite nicely. And I also have plans to do the same thing with some more yarn, so using a non-nylon based yarn to knit the leg, and that's going to be with this yarn, already one neat ball, one blob. This is Blue Moon Fibre Arts in the Socks That Rock Lightweight in the colourway Drusilla. So it's beautiful reds with some silver and grey tones throughout. Now I have a shawl knit with this yarn, the Mackay shawl by the lovely Mel MSki Knits. Now the reason I am choosing to do this at this time, next weekend is the Perth Supernova Pop Culture Comic Convention, and Damien is vending there with his artwork, DKS Art and Design. So he's extremely busy at the moment getting everything sorted, but it's going to be great fun. And one of the guests that are coming, the celebrities, is James Masters from, among other things, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He played Spike, and he's done a lot of other work, but that's where my heart lives for him. And in the show, his character Spike, who is a vampire, at first was in love with another vampire called Drusilla. So that's my connection there. I don't have any Spike yarn, I'm afraid. And I'm planning to have a photo with him, so where you can, you know, pay to have a photo with him. And I thought, I like to get people to hold my knitting. I certainly didn't invent that, the Yarn Harlot did. So I thought, why not bring my knitting into the professional photo? Why not indeed? So I thought I will take this yarn. Damien is working on an amazing piece. You may have seen it on Instagram, and I'll insert a photo here. So that's a photo of a piece of artwork Damien is working on of James Masters as Spike, a watercolour, and he's going to digitally colour it for some prints. And so I'm getting very excited now. So when I have a photo with him, I will give him a copy of that print as well. So it's exciting. So I'm going to cast those on. I also want to have some easy knitting to have, because I'll be working Damien's booth with him for the whole weekend. So I want to have some easy knitting that I can pick up and put down very quickly when customers come along. So possibly plain vanilla socks, or I might do another one of the Beyond Vanilla patterns by Mina. They're very simple. After a couple of rows of the pattern, I memorized it. It was very easy because they're just a little beyond vanilla. So we shall see. So the lightweight Socks That Rock is a little bit thicker or tighter tighter spun, so therefore a bit thicker. So I might use 2.5 millimeter needles on this one, but we shall see. I'll have more of that to show you next time. Our Opposites Knit Along is still going along. You've got till the end of June. Now remember, there'll be prizes from both the finished objects thread as well as the chatter thread. So don't feel any pressure to finish. As long as you keep coming and chatting and showing us your progress in the chatter thread, you'll still be in with a chance to win. I mentioned that in July we're going to have a red along. So that will be, as always, knitting or crochet or spinning. I'm not bothered by what type of craft you do, as long as it's fibre related, those three. So in terms of what that will be, I'll tell you more about it as we start, but just so you can get the planning juices flowing, you don't have to knit everything all in red. Like, you can have other colours in your project. As long as there's a little bit of red, that's fine. I don't want to be excluding of anyone. So the more red, the better, in my opinion, of course. But I know not everyone is, as enamoured with red as me. So as long as there is even the tiniest bit of red, that will be fine. But have a think about what you might like to knit for that. Prizes! So we had our 1500 member giveaway going for our Ravelry Thread membership. So welcome everyone, so exciting to see you. So we used the random number generator to draw a prize. So it was between posts number 2 and 59, because post number 1 was mine. And the winner was number 47, who was Crafty You, Charmaine from Perth. Same place as me, so congratulations, Charmaine. So get in touch with me, Charmaine. Let me know that you've seen this, and I will get the lovely Floofy Moose, the designer, to send you the pattern that you mentioned in the thread. Also, if you'd like to change your mind and you'd like to choose a different pattern by Floofy Moose, that's fine too. It is winner's choice for patterns. So congratulations. Thank you to everyone for entering. Today we are also having our June quarter prize draw for the charity knit along. So we're running that all year for 2016. We'll probably do one next year as well. And it's just one thread for that one, so come and chat, comment, show us what you're working on, show us things you finish. Anything for charity is fine. So the way I do it, at whatever time of the quarter that I draw, I just draw from number 2 up to whatever the last post is as I look at it. So from last night, the last post was number 356. So random number generator drew 349, who is DG White, Denise from Seattle in Washington. Congratulations, Denise. Now, if you go onto that thread, Denise, unfortunately I won't go into her personal business here, but she shares a sad personal story about why she's knitting some chemo caps, and she has knit quite a few. So that's great, Denise, that you were a winner here. The prize for this drawing is the ebook of the Tea Collection by designer Claire Devine, who was originally from South Africa, then lived in the UK, now lives in Australia, and I'm hoping that we can catch up in about a month's time when I go to Bendigo for the Australian Sheep and Wool Festival, but more on that later. But please get in touch, Denise, and then when I know that you've seen this, I will put you in touch with Claire to get your prize. Speaking of the designer Claire Devine, she very recently gave me her new collection, which is the Travel Trio sock pattern. So thank you so much, Claire. I was actually going to cast on one of those with that ladybug yarn, but the one I wanted to do would look really lovely in a nice tonal yarn, so I'm holding that one off until I choose one of my tonals. But those patterns from that trio incorporate her move from England moving to Australia, and the photography is beautiful, as you can see in this photo here. So it's really lovely. It shows the journey and incorporates the socks into it. So that's a beautiful collection if you're interested in purchasing that. So I mentioned I also bought the Beyond Vanilla collection, and another pattern I bought recently was the New Day Shawl by Sally Jane of the Pink Hair Girl podcast. Sally Jane and I are obviously, it may not be obvious to you, but we are co-hosting the Opposites Knit Along that we've got running. So have a look. It's a beautiful shawl design and I'm very much looking forward to knitting that. I'm wanting a lot more big shawls at the moment because it has been quite cool, and it's been quite cool in my office as well. So I find I've actually been wearing my shawls all day, sort of over my front, especially on my chest. So I'm looking forward to starting that at some point. I've got so many things on. As I said, I'm sort of more in a sock place at the moment. Another shawl I feel like making, and it was possibly on my mind for what to knit at the Supernova convention and get James Masters to hold, because it's called the Vampire Shawl, and James Masters in Buffy was a vampire, as I mentioned. So that pattern is one, I cannot remember the designer's name, but I'll link it. I won that through the Wrapped in Wool podcast with the lovely Becky, who's expat Australian living in America, a little while ago, and I've been meaning to knit it for ages, and you know, it's one of those things, we've all got too much to knit, too little time. The pattern actually calls for a yarn I have, which is the Madeline Tosh DK in the Tart colourway, which is a lovely red. So, and the way it sort of goes in like that, so it looks like, you know, big battle vampire wings. So I might look at that pattern, because if that's not anything that requires too much thinking, that might be good to take as well. But because it's too big, I don't want to have some big lumbering thing to take into the photo. The decisions, it's so difficult, isn't it? Anyway, that big shawls are on their way. I got a lovely little parcel in the post, and part of it was a present for me, which is exciting, but even better, a present for the podcast. So from Tasha, who's Tasha's Adventures, she has the Etsy shop and Instagram account called Familiar Notions. That will all, of course, be linked in the podcast. And she makes beautiful stitch markers. Now, I'll hold them up separately, but I just want to show you. She's put little rings there, as well as the lobster claw clasp, because that way you can choose what kind of stitch marker you would like to have. So great idea. And the ones she sent us, let's see, we've got a little cat, a little witch, a teapot and cup, and a sheep and a jumper on the needles, or a sweater on the needles. We say jumper here in Australia. So those are great. Those will be a prize in a future giveaway very soon. She also sent me some, which was very generous, again with the rings, so I can swap them out if I want to. And the ones that I chose, well, when I say I chose, I had mentioned that I really liked them when she was offering the prize, so I didn't realise she was going to send me some, so it's very generous. I like the sheep, the teapot, and the little witch. So these are all very cute. And look at this beautiful box she sent me. It's like postage stamps with the butterflies on it. It's beautiful. And in there was a brooch. It's a doggy. She's wearing a necklace. And it's got polka dots. Thank you so much, Tasha, for your generous donation to the podcast, as well as my lovely presents. So those photos were my decorations from when I hosted my book club last week. The way we do it in our book club is we serve food that is thematic to the book, and I also sort of threw out some decorations. So I was reading The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux, and the monkey in that picture is not mentioned in the book, but the musical by Andrew Lloyd Webber, that's a toy I got at the merchandise stand. I talked about that in a previous episode when I was wearing the Phantom brooch that I also wore for the occasion. Now the flowers, I'll quickly tell you, were some flowers I bought myself when I had my week off, and they were getting a bit dry and a bit worse for wear, but I kept them out because that was thematic too. At one point in the book, the main character gets kidnapped by the Phantom for about 2 weeks, and she's an opera star and has a dressing room where people give her flowers. And so I said those are the flowers that were in her dressing room before she got kidnapped, and so that's why they're all dried out. They'd been there for 2 weeks, which worked quite nicely. So that was very good. We had lots of good discussion, and I always knit at book club. And it was actually, that prompted a discussion of people's experience with knitting and, you know, their grandmothers and people they used to know who knit, and so that was really nice. Just a little bit of an aside that was nothing to do with the book, but that was all good. So the book I'm reading now is called The Sleep Revolution by Arianna Huffington, who is the creator of the Huffington Post. But it's looking at how important sleep is and how in modern, I was going to say Western society, but not just Western, but modern first world mostly, sleep has become something people don't get enough of, either by choice or by situation. And how important sleep is, that it's not just that, oh, we feel a bit tired, the actual physical detriment that that can have to us and how important sleep is. So I'm really enjoying that because I'm trying to sort of be more healthy. And as part of that, this week I have just started doing an 8-week I Quit Sugar program. So some of you may have heard of Sarah Wilson. She's a woman from Sydney in Australia who has a few cookbooks out called I Quit Sugar, and she did back in 2011, I think, before so much was known and or publicised about how bad sugar is. So this program, you get online coaching and you get recipes every week and you quit sugar. So it's going to be a bit hard, but I'm also really looking forward to it. And as I said, I'm a week in, or not quite a week, 5 days in, and I'm going fine so far. So the menu plan this week had a couple of things with a bit of sugar. Fructose is what it's talking about. So not necessarily added sugar as such, but things that have fructose in them. Now, when I went to see my GP before starting this program, because, you know, I wanted to make sure everything was okay, wasn't going to have any ill effect on me, I was also talking about how sugar, I've heard recently, can be inflammatory, and because of my rheumatoid arthritis, I said, you know, that was an outcome I was hoping or going to experiment with, see if it made any difference. And she said, oh, well, what about wheat then? Wheat can be very inflammatory, which I've not heard from anyone before, such as any of my health professionals. So I guess it's interesting in that sort of holistic look at what things can help or not help us. So I'm actually going wheat and gluten-free as well as sugar-free. So we shall see at the end of 8 weeks if I see a notable difference in my arthritis or my overall health and feeling, I guess. And that's part of what I've been learning, is that sugar, because it, you know, you get the energy spike, get the quotes again, it actually raises cortisol, which is the stress hormone. When you eat sugar, your stress hormone goes up. Now, please bear in mind, I'm not a doctor or a health professional. These are just things I have been learning. So, you know, I'm not giving anyone medical advice by any means, but this is what research is showing. And of course, stress hormone is not good for anyone, but it's also not good because I actually have an anxiety disorder. So I like to keep with the A's, arthritis and anxiety. I haven't mentioned that on the podcast before, and I've been thinking about why, because I am very much of the opinion that our mental health, mental and emotional well-being shouldn't be a taboo subject that no one talks about. And it's funny, when I was diagnosed with my anxiety, which was probably about 5 or 6 years ago, what prompted me to go to the doctor, I didn't know I had anxiety. I kept having breathing problems, as I was calling them. I sometimes couldn't take a full deep breath, couldn't, when you take a really deep breath, it sort of feels like you're going over a hill, if that makes sense. That's how it feels to me. And I went to several doctors. People were giving me asthma tests and lung capacity. Nothing was showing up. And then I went to a doctor who was near where I used to live, so I don't go to her anymore, but she was fantastic. And she just looked at me, and after I described the breathing, and she said, "It's anxiety." And I almost burst into tears because it just made so much sense. And the funny thing is, when I was probably about 5 or 6, I can remember saying to Mum, "I can't take deep breaths." And we went to the doctor, and I laugh because, she was trying to get me to not be shy. So she said, "Tell the doctor what's wrong." And I don't know why I got shy, and I just said, "I've got a sore tummy." Instead of saying what was actually wrong. So I think she explained to the doctor what I was saying. But again, and I guess back then that would be, the early 80s. mental health really wasn't as well understood, I guess. So nothing. So essentially, I've had anxiety since I was a small child, and it was only in my early 30s that it was diagnosed. So I've had these breathing problems, which were panic attacks. So who knew? Not me. So I have come a long way. I don't tend to have panic attacks anymore, which is really nice. But I do still get anxious and stressed, but I have a lot of self-care methods in place. Sometimes if a lot of things are happening in life, I can still have an attack or, feel extra anxious, but because I know how to manage myself and manage my stress levels, I'm pretty much in control of it. Medication is very helpful for me. But bringing it back to the sugar, that's why I'm very much looking forward to ridding sugar from my life, and I think that's going to have some huge benefits for me overall, as well as with my mental and emotional health. So that's very exciting. So yes, the more I learn about sugar, the more I don't want it at all, and nor my family. But I have to ease them off it because they're not there yet. But I must say, even this week, Sophie and Damien, having a think. Sophie's saying, I've got your voice in the back of my head, Mel. So, her friend offers her a soft drink, she takes a water. So it's good. Incremental changes. But yes, learning how the stress hormone increases, my aim in life is to have as little stress as possible because, there are things in life that are very stressful and things that can't be changed, but we can change how we deal with them and how we can minimize the impact. So I will let you know as I keep going throughout how it's going. There are side effects from detoxing. I'll call this the air quotes episode. I have noticed this week that I've been quite lethargic, which is ironic because after you've quit sugar, your energy levels will just skyrocket, which is another thing I'm very much looking forward to. But yeah, as part of the detox, I'm slumping a bit, which is, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm trying to cut down on coffee, but it's meaning I'm wanting more and more. And having one coffee a day for anyone is fine. But, caffeine can stress our body and caffeine can increase our cortisol as well, or adrenaline. But that's okay. A coffee a day is all good. I have been trying this coffee alternative, a tea. I'm not there yet. It doesn't taste like coffee. It doesn't taste bad at all, but it's not a replacement as yet. It could be an addition. It's not a replacement, but we'll see how we go. But the food is just fabulous because I must say, even 5 days in, I'm loving the fact I don't have to think about it. I get given the meal plans, breakfast, lunch and dinner. There are, weekend cook-ups, so you prepare things in advance. It's so easy. And look, that's not meant to sound that I'm lazy, and I certainly don't think if someone said that to me, it would sound lazy, but, we all have a certain amount of brain power to use throughout the day, and to not have to think about what am I going to make for dinner is great. It's all there. I just buy what I need to buy. Fantastic. And the portion sizes are really big because I guess they're catering to people of all different appetite sizes. So the way it works, you make your dinner and then half of that goes for your lunch the next day. But I'm actually finding I'm getting 3 portions out of it, which is great because it means I can give Damien and I dinner portion. Sophie's still very fussy. She wouldn't eat the food, so I still have to make Sophie separate things, but that's okay. I can handle that. Loving it. So I will link to that. The program is closed because it is for the set period. But you can register interest for a future one, and I'll tell you more about it as it goes along to see if you'd be keen in it. But there's lots of recipes and information on the iquitsugar.com website. Again, I'm not sponsored by them. This is just something I have become quite passionate about. There's also the movie That Sugar Film. Or is it That Sugar Movie? No, it's That Sugar Film, which is by another Australian, Damon Gameau, which is very interesting. It's quite fun. Another good way to look at sugar and how completely sad it is that it sort of has ruined a lot of people's health and modern living is all about, quick food, quick fix, all that sort of thing. So I've mentioned before, I think it was a couple of episodes ago, the Slow Home podcast that I've been listening to. So I have definitely been focusing more on slower living, and by that I don't mean, not doing fast-paced things. It means more about living deliberately and trying to think more, be more mindful, all that sort of thing. So I feel I'm rambling a bit now, but that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at now at about 6 o'clock in the morning. But looking forward to getting rid of sugar and telling you more about it, and also showing you some of the recipes. Delicious food. Like, I'm not missing out at all. So more on that next time. I'll let you know how I'm going. Now I'm going to go and make my coffee replacement tea to put in my travel mug, and I'm going to head off to work for the day. So I hope whatever you are doing, you are enjoying it, and I hope you get some lovely relaxing time to do some knitting, have a cup of tea, have a coffee, have some water, just have a break, have some time for you where you're not having to rush around. I will see you hopefully in a week's time. I will have lots of updates and hopefully a photo with me and James Masters. Until then, happy crafting, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.